after tonight. You don't have to look up at the stars. No, 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 no.
Come take a look at my dream world.
Tonight. You don't have to look up at the stars.
Chat, if you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice, I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run, Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps, you gotta jump. No trouble, no double, I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars. Make one wish, you're looking at a star. Swag so fresh, you can put it in the jar. And the way I change gear, you can put me in the car. I remember when me and Seif used to sneak in every concert door. Now I got my feet in. Every day is Gift Friday, no weekend.
You don't have to look up at the stars.
Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite live YouTube sports show. That is indeed correct. It is indeed hashtag this Justin. And of this show, then you know this cast already. Every week we bring Brian. Well, not Brian. Oh, so sorry, Adam. Please, my apologies. Every week we bring Adam. But finally, we've got back Brian Bolster. Finally, we've got back Payton Doyle. What's up, guys?
What's going on, man? Glad to be back.
It's always back. And right now, what's back is the NFL and in full force with our playoffs. We have moved right from an exciting division round, and we are going into this weekend championships. Ooh, never thought we'd get here. The conference championship, I was waiting to see, thankfully, and I told everyone would happen. 49ers at the Eagles. So I want to see, Payton, you've not been here the longest, so we're going to start with you, Payton. Number one, number two, what decides this matchup between the 49ers and the Eagles?
It's going to be whoever can stop the run. That's all it's going to come down to. Philly, we always know they're going to want to run. And they won that game against New York big. They won, 38-7, right? But Jalen Hurts didn't even throw for 150 yards in that game. That was all a dominance on the ground game. And they've done that all year to everybody. But they haven't played San Fran, who's given up 77 yards per game on the ground, which is like the second fewest in the NFL. They have the best front seven in the entire league. Nick Bosa is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And this is what it's going to come down to this. Can the Eagles force Brock Purdy to throw and have to face James Bradbury and Darius Slay, who have been absolutely just locking down everybody this year? And can the 49ers force Jalen Hurts to have to throw? That's going to decide this game, is who stops the run the best.
Do you agree? Is there something else that we're missing here?
I do agree with Payton, really about 100%. But the one distinction I would make, or more specifically, would be Jalen Hurts. Him running the ball versus the 49ers being able to stop him running the ball.
Yeah,
I think that's where the real matchup lies, like, the forest within the tree within the forest, if you will. Because he is right. It comes down to the ground game, obviously, for both teams. That's their strength. I think A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're going to get some big plays in the passing game, because I do think that's where the 49ers are a little bit weaker. And I think the 49ers are going to say, like, if you beat us, that's how you're going to have to do it. But I think at the end of the day, to cash in on touchdowns, not field goals, and to end up winning the game or potentially icing it at the end, is going to come down to Jalen Hurts' feet. And I really like how the 49ers match up with Fred Warner, arguably the best linebacker in the game, but also known specifically for his speed. That could be kind of the X factor in that specific matchup.
Adam, are you going with the ground game like everyone else, or are we missing something as well? What really decides San Fran, Philadelphia?
I think we're just missing a little bit of something, and Payton and Brian have really, have picked up on it very well. Payton, you talked about, obviously, if the Eagles are going to make Brock Purdy actually throw the ball, and then Brian was mentioning if Jalen Hurts is actually going to be able to make his legs be a factor in this game, of course, as we've seen all year for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think the biggest thing I look at, and the reason I think we're tiptoeing around, is we are talking about both of the quarterbacks here, right? And I think that's really what it comes down to, because when you look at it, each of these quarterbacks, I feel like the most pressure in terms of actual defensive presence and stakes that these teams are in right now. There's been some of these talks that, anybody could be put into the 49ers situation. It doesn't matter what pick Brock Purdy is, because we know Shanahan, very touted coach. The quarterback doesn't have to do a whole lot. And a lot of that has been said with Jalen Hurts as well. And of course, I've said things about certain quarterbacks in the past with games like this, but what it is these quarterbacks are here. They played well enough, a lot or not. They're still both in the NFC Championship. So when you look at the Eagles, I mean, outside of a Saints defense who's finally came around at the end of the year, wasn't even worth anything the first half of the year, and the Cowboys twice with play the second time, this team really hasn't been tested to the brink, in my opinion, which was my big thing earlier this year, a little last year when we were talking about this. Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, first timers last year. Now they're actually making the run this year. How confident and how efficient are they actually going to be able to be with their first deep postseason run? You look at the Niners as well. Obviously, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 14 touchdowns, 4 picks, 7-0, undefeated, never lost. We understand that about Brock Purdy, right? But take a look at the defenses that he's matched up against as well. You got the Bucs, the Seahawks twice, the Raiders, the Cardinals, and the Commanders, and then they just slipped past the Dallas defense. So can each of these quarterbacks really rise to the occasion with the defense they're going to be against? For me, it's going to be Jalen, but we'll get to that reasoning at the end. I think it's going to be just, like I said, a battle of Brock and Jalen. It's going to rise to the occasion considering how great these defenses are. And I mean, these were the only two teams in the entire postseason that are left that are top 5 in both offense and defense this year. So what a matchup we're going to catch here with this NFC title game.
I think it is going to be a great matchup. And just for a matter of, full disclosure, I did pick at the start of the playoffs the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl. So I am not going to hedge my bets. No. Like the guys before me, I believe that football is won in the trenches. Like, we get caught up in watching, skill position players and quarterbacks. And I think this is going to be trench warfare. My biggest concern is when you watch that Dallas game, for the most part, the Cowboys were able to keep Dak Prescott clean. And why that concerns me is that you're going to go against an even better offensive line in Philadelphia. Talking about Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelce, and Lane Johnson on the other side. Yes, you don't want to really get up the field too much against, Jalen Hurts, because we know what he wants to do his legs. And I do think San Francisco want to box him in and make him become a passer. My worry still is at some point you're going to have to get some pressure. And, I like Brian bringing up Fred Warner because I also think you're going to have to leave Fred Warner into spite. You're going to have to avoid getting up the field too far against Philadelphia. And you're going to have to keep Jalen Hurts in your pocket for as long as you want to keep him there. But I think that this Philadelphia offensive line can actually blow them off, the lane and dominate with the run game. And that is going to be a concern. And on the flip side, let's face it, guys, none of y'all want to say this, so I will say it. Philadelphia is an overrated defense. And they cannot stop the run. And they rely too heavily on turnovers. San Francisco will come out to run the football. Well, it depends on which Kyle Shanahan we'll get. But that's something I'll get to later on. If Kyle Shanahan sticks to the script of power football or power running football that we saw in the second half of that Dallas game, I think that my Super Bowl pick will indeed advance. And I really think both lines of scrimmage are the matchups that I want to see. But speaking of matchups, gentlemen, we are going to get Bengals Chiefs Part 4. And unfortunately for one side, they haven't won the previous 3. Brian, considering that the Cincinnati Bengals have had a measure of success against the Chiefs, do you think that they carry some sort of mental edge going into the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, I think the Bengals always do in any matchup, to be quite honest with you. They have Joe Burrow. I think that is their mental edge. That's a real thing. Just having that confidence in your leader, like no matter what, we're coming through. Obviously, you've done it 3 prior times before, specifically against the Chiefs. I think you're going to hear a lot of quotes out of them, especially, of course, if they win, like Georgia football after winning the national championship. If you saw some of those quotes where they were saying everybody doubted us, we were picked to go 6-6. The Bengals are going to say similar things, where now they're actually the betting favorite in Kansas City. They're going to talk like we've been so disrespected. We're the biggest underdogs in the world.
Last year was a fluke.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, that's going to be a big thing moving forward for them, whether it's real or not. You know, it's kind of irrelevant to some degree.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the Bengals have the edge. Really, just we were talking about in that matchup with the Eagles and 49ers because they can run the ball. And I know Kansas City did a really nice job against Jacksonville, but I do think that the Bengals have the right combination of being able to run the ball. They got a physical offensive line, although I know they have their flaws and injuries, to be clear. But I think they have the weapons to overcome that. Joe Burrow is arguably the best pocket passer in the entire league, just getting it out of his hands quick, getting it to the playmakers, and then Joe Mixon on the running game. So I really think, and one other thing, the Bengals secondary, which has been much maligned in the past other than Jesse Bates, but is really good. Like Eli Apple is good. I know that's not like been a popular thing to say. Eli Apple is good. He's not Jalen Ramsey. He's not like a top 3 corner, but he's good.
I am shocked, Brian. Like
he's good. And Patrick Mahomes, lastly, like him being injured. I know Andy Reid said like he's fine, and it's not that it's
he'll play. He'll play.
Hold on, we'll get to that point.
He's like, no.
Don't jump segments yet. Payton, I mean, this team has been, and I mean this team, the Chiefs have been to 5 straight AFC Championship games. Like, there can't be a mental edge here, could there?
Of course there could be. Any sport, everything is so mental at times. And like Brian said, Joe Burrow is that guy. That nothing phases this man. This man cannot flinch. And now the team knows that they've taken down the 5-time AFC Championship game appearances, right? Mm-hmm. They've taken them down 3 times in a row. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the majority of those have been in Kansas City, if not all of them.
No, only one.
Okay, only one. Well, they know they can beat them in Arrowhead. They know they can beat them in Cincy. So they know it doesn't matter where they're playing. They know that they have the momentum. They just stomped the Bills in Buffalo in the snow, and the Bills are always like, oh, yeah, you know, we can play in the snow. That's what we do because we're in Buffalo and we know how to play in the snow and other teams don't. Well, they beat you in the snow.
Right.
And they ran all over him, too. And Joe Burrow looked sharp. He looked sharper than any blade imaginable. This dude could cut through trees with the passes he was throwing. It was absurd. He was on fire. They're rolling at the right time. They haven't lost since they lost to the Browns on Halloween. So they are rolling right at the right time, much like they were last season.
Yeah.
Trust Payton Doyle to find a way to bring a Cleveland reference.
Always.
I know, right? Oh, man.
Adam, really, the Bengals have a mental edge going into this matchup?
This was an interesting topic when I saw it on the lineup here because, I mean, you know, for me, everything is perspective. And when I first looked into this, I was like, I'm really not sure, right? Clearly, Burrow is 3-0 against Mahomes, which is absolutely remarkable when you just look at, you know, both of their careers and what they've been capable of. Shout out to Joe Burrow. And they won against them earlier this year on December 4th, 27-24 in Cincinnati. And, you know, we always say it's tough to beat a good team twice, but in this case, Burrow will be going for what they call the golden sombrero in baseball. When you strike out 4 times, he's going for the 4-0 here against Patrick Mahomes, baby goat. But just for some of these stats to actually know that Burrow does outplay Mahomes in these types of games. 3-0, 72% completion, 327 a game passing, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's Joe. Patrick Mahomes, obviously no wins, 67%, still remarkable, 252 yards, clearly a drop-off from his about 300 or so a game that he averages, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, you know, when you look at it, it's really a perspective of, I'd venture to say no, but the way you can look at it is, oh, Burrow's like, I'm undefeated against him. You know, I outplay him every time. I just beat him earlier this year, and we're in the same spot as last year, so let's go ahead and do this. Or you're trying not to crack under the pressure of being in the same spot as you were last year, and obviously having a chance in your 3rd NFL year to go to your second straight Super Bowl appearance when really a lot of people walking into both of these seasons didn't see it at all. So I'm going to venture to say no because Mahomes, yes, 5 straight AFC championships, but he hasn't beat Joe Burrow in his career. So Mahomes is ready to get out there and make it happen versus Joe. Okay, he's done this, that, and the third. This was a really tough one for me to answer, but I'm going to say Cincinnati doesn't have a mental edge in this game.
I'm a bit divided, and I'm glad you brought up Joe Burrow's stats Because if there is a mental edge, it probably is that, knowing full well that Steve Spagnuolo is telling himself, whatever I do with this guy, I can't get this guy beaten. And not only can I not beat him, I can't even make him look ordinary.
Yep.
Me have 1 interception in 3 games as opposed to 8 touchdowns. And we all know what Steve likes to do more so than anyone is on third down. He likes to send you house. Well, guess what, gentlemen? Joe Burrow, according to PFF, who we all love and makes no mistakes, right? According to PFF, Joe Burrow has the highest grade this season of a quarterback facing a blitz of 93.2. Their PFF grade, whatever that means.
Wow.
I guess it means very good against the blitz, which Steve Spagnuolo loves to do on third down. I don't want to say, oh, this team has a mental edge because you've been to 5 straight AFC Championship games, but how can you not, considering you can't get this team beaten and you just can't even make their quarterback look ordinary.
Yep.
But Brandon cut you off early because you wanted to get to a certain high ankle injury, and we wanted to save that for this segment. So, Brandon, since you were so eager, I'm going to let you jump off. Is that high ankle injury, high ankle sprain, whatever you want to call it, going to play a major impact in this championship game?
It will. It really will. And it's not that Patrick Mahomes won't be awesome. It's not that the Chiefs offense won't produce at a high level and they'll put up points. It's just the way that the Chiefs are attacked schematically, it will really enhance how teams typically do that. And that is rushing 3, sometimes 4. Of course, you're trying to get a sack, but really you're just trying to contain Patrick Mahomes, make him, if he's going to extend, within the pocket, and, get to him as fast as possible, but within reason, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a passive pass rush.
Yeah.
And now that he has that ankle injury, it's going to change a little bit of that Kansas City offense and make it a timing offense, which is typically not quite as much. And again, they could be really good at it. Travis Kelce had 14 catches, but you saw some of the explosiveness come down a little bit. And I think they're going to need that in this game. They're still going to be awesome, but it's that extra special magic that makes the Chiefs so great. That's the reason that they've made it to 5 straight AFC championships. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes the best, is that extra little special bit. That's going to be missing. Now, they can still win the game, don't get me wrong, but it does make a big impact schematically because now you're playing right into the hands of the defense, if that makes sense.
Adam, do the Bengals play him any differently? Is Patrick Mahomes' injury going to have a significant impact on the game?
I don't know if I'd say a significant impact, but if Mahomes is 100% without this injury, I'm saying he's probably going to be just because he's Mahomes and we've seen him battle through these things before. I want to say they won the Super Bowl the year that he had the scary knee injury, right? Clearly it wasn't that bad, but the guy's very durable, right? Like I said, if he's 100% without it, he's probably at an 80, 85%, and I think it's going to be a case where, kind of like they saw, or like we saw when Jalen Hurts came back from the injury, they're not going to stress him out too much. Clearly Mahomes is going to have his big plays. He's going to be able to have those, nice cheap touchdowns that the Kansas City and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are known for. But I think they're going to kind of ease him into things, and obviously Cincinnati coming in like they're trying to get to a second Super Bowl. They clearly understand that they've got an advantage here. So I believe they are going to center their game around probably trying to get Mahomes off of his spot, maybe stacking the box to where and then you got to ask the question of, do you want an injured Mahomes to pass the ball on you, or do you want to have him hand it off? It's a very interesting situation here, but I don't think it's going to be to the point where, like Brian said, they can still win the football game with Patrick Mahomes hurt. I still don't have a pick on that game, by the way. I know we got to make it later, cheese. But yeah, like I said, if Mahomes is 100% without this injury, he's 85%, at best, realistically, I think, with this injury. So yeah.
Payton, do you agree, or do you think that the Chiefs have no chance with this injury?
I mean, I kind of agree with Brian where the injury is going to affect the game.
Right.
But it might not mean that it's going to affect it negatively for the Chiefs. It's just going to be a little bit different. Like Brian touched up on, we know that they're going to try to rush 3 and they're going to play for the pass. And what's really going to change is just what they did against Jacksonville. When Mahomes came back, it was more Mahomes is in the pocket, and they're trying to just throw the ball underneath and get yards after the catch. That's part of the reason why Travis Kelce got so many targets last week, was because they were really just trying to, get the ball out quick and then have the yards after the catch to get the first down. They are not going to have the big plays where Mahomes is scrambling outside of the pocket, buying extra time. That's just not going to be the nature of the game. It's just going to be a little bit different for Kansas City. They're going to try to throw quicker passes, probably more screen passes, more dump offs, just to try to chip away yardage and control the ball more rather than be more explosive like they have been in the past.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but would you know this season that Kansas City offensive line is actually good? To the point they have allowed the third fewest sacks this season. I want to say 26. And I'm ashamed of every one of you, Brian, Adam, and Payton. Y'all did not mention that this team can actually run the ball now because of a kid called Isaiah Pacheco. Like, this team is actually more balanced offensively, and unlike seasons of old when they were a quick straight offense with Tyreek Hill floating going down the field, they are a lot more possession based. I'm not here to say that they're going to win this game, because even with in the past, Mahomes at 100% with Tyreek Hill, they lost. So I'm going to find it hard that this injury is not going to play a significant role. But I do know, or I have a belief, that with this new offensive line and with more balance, that you're going to see a lot of Isaiah Pacheco in this game. Whether that wins, however, left to be seen.
You were right on that, Justin. Kansas City 30 sacks allowed, 26. Crazy enough, Detroit at 24 and Bucks at 22. Wow. I didn't know if I'd say that at the beginning of the year.
No, you can't question me on my stats. If I bring stats, they're good. You can question me on my opinions.
I love it, bro. I love it.
Who should be running the ball a lot more is the other team that lost in division round. That's Buffalo. And, well, it's 3 straight years that Buffalo is saying this is our time, and well, that's not exactly come yet. Payton, you have arguably a top 3, top 4 quarterback in the league, a defense prior to the injuries that was touted as one of the best in the league, elite at all 3 levels. How do they go forward from here?
It needs to be less of Josh Allen. And I get that Josh Allen is and I've been saying this because everybody was picking the Bills. Everybody was picking the Bills. I think Justin agrees with me on this, but everybody was picking the Bills preseason. And I said, until you can prove that someone else can help take pressure of Josh Allen, it's not going to work. It never will work. That's not championship football. Every team that's still in it is not that. I mean, these are great quarterbacks, but none of them are guys that are just straight up carrying their team right now. Like, Brock Purdy certainly is not carrying his team. If anything, he's getting carried by his team. Jalen Hurts, as great as he's been this season, he hasn't put the cape on his back and been carrying the team. Pat Mahomes, the year they won the Super Bowl, you could argue that Damian Williams should have won a Super Bowl MVP that year because they ran the ball. And Tampa Bay, playoff Lenny. That's exactly why Tampa Bay sucked in the playoffs this year. Why? Because they were averaging 3.5 yards per carry on the ground all season.
Team, but that's another conversation.
That's been his go-to. Tampa Bay is a bad football team and can't do anything.
They were.
Right? Justin's
and
just loving that.
Part of the reason for their decline this year was because it was too much on Brady. And it's the same thing with Josh Allen. Why do you think Josh Allen last week was holding onto the ball for minutes? It was insane. He needs to just stop. It's almost like the offense, especially ever since Dable has left, and a little bit while Dable was there too, has just been, Josh, save us. Save us. We don't know. You need to do whatever you need to do. But really, they need more balance, and they need to make it easier on Josh Allen. Why? There's no reason why Josh Allen should be leading the league in turnovers this year. You can't have that and expect to win a championship. So you need to simplify it for him, make it easier, get the ball out of his hands quicker, and get someone to rely on in that running game.
Yep.
Adam, do you agree? Are there other ways in which Buffalo can improve, or is it a case like they're just too Josh Allen-centric.
Yeah, Peyton really hit the nail on the head there. And, a couple things I would just add on is double down on the fact that, believe it or not, they were the 7th overall rushing offense this year in terms of yards per game, and 9th overall in total rush yards. Now, it's skewed a little bit, obviously, because I feel like those come in bunches, and Josh Allen is obviously, responsible for a lot of that. And, mentioning James Cook here, he was the guy that was starting to show promise, I felt like, as they started to give him carries throughout the year. And I knew that was a solid pick as soon as they drafted him out of Georgia, not because he's a dog, but because I knew that James Cook, I knew what he put on the field for Georgia, and I knew the, run game deficiency, rather, that, Buffalo was dealing with. So to see the emergence of James Cook and them actually trusting him and being able to elevate, the run game a slight bit, rather, with him was really nice to see in terms of him coming out of UGA. But this is Sean McDermott's 6th year, and with no true run blocking, they're great in pass blocking, don't get me wrong. And, again, the numbers were skewed because you go back and look all the way to 2016, outside of, I think, just a couple of seasons, but I was looking before we got on, between 2016 and now, there's only been 2 years where they haven't been top 5 in rush yards per game, but it still looks like they're struggling because they're asking Josh Allen and the quarterbacks before him to do a lot. And like Peyton said, they just need someone out there that can really alleviate Josh Allen's responsibilities, because I think the reason that he has led the league in turnovers this year is because they don't have anyone outside of him that can really not even carry the load, but just help him distribute it. Into my next point, get you a true wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 3. Now, I got a lot of respect for Gabe Davis because he had his best year this year, 7 touchdowns, just a little bit over 800 yards. And we know that Stephon Diggs is wide receiver 1, but Diggs can't do it all. And I'm kind of starting to get this feeling that the whole Diggs-Allen combo, like it was, it's still major, right? Very well respected, but it's starting to become, I feel like, just a little less feared because they don't have a true offensive identity outside of Josh Allen. I got respect for Isaiah McKenzie. I got respect for Dawson Knox, but those guys aren't even putting up 600-700 yards a game. Or excuse me, not a game. Wow. A year, right? So get you a true wide receiver 2 or 3 to really help Josh Allen out, and double down on the fact that your numbers at least are deceiving for the run game. Now make it look effective on the field, because we know Buffalo can blow out any team in the league, but they can also get blown out by any team in the league any day. And it's a very interesting situation for them.
First, Peyton with a Cleveland reference, and then Adam with a Georgia reference. It has to be #ThisJustin on a Monday night. Brian,
Yes,
do you agree
sir.
with me? Is it a situation that Buffalo is just too Josh Allen-centric, or is it something more that they can do to finally get over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I agree with what Peyton said, but I think it's a bigger point than that, where I think the Bills are just fool's gold. Like, their stats do not match up with what they are.
Nope.
Like, that defense, I know they've been ranked really high for 2 years. They aren't that good.
Right.
Like, they're average, I'd say, at best. And the same with the offense surrounding Josh Allen. They have Stephon Diggs, who's awesome. After that, they're average at best. And really, realistically, I'd say they're below average. The offensive line, I don't think they're good at all, to be quite honest with you. I do think Sean McDermott is a good coach. And really, that's kind of what I chalk this up to, is that they have a good coach, they have a great quarterback, and they overachieve. They go a little bit streaky, but they overachieve and then have this kind of crucial moment in the postseason now where they match up against a better team that's more balanced, and they get exposed, and people think it's a fluke. And I just don't think it is. I think that they aren't that good. I just don't. And I know it's crazy to say because they were 13-3 this year. Last year they had a great record. And I just think that they're average. Like, they honestly remind me of the Titans.
Brian, I'm not going to
Josh Allen.
I'm not going to go on to say average because obviously you said they have Josh Allen, but I remember a point last year, like the Bills had a couple of games, like a streak of games, kind of said, they get a little streaky, but they were winning. But when you actually watch the games, the numbers were very deceiving. And the game that stuck out to me the most was when they beat the Texans, and they won that game 3-0. But people don't realize with like 2 minutes left in the third quarter that they were only up like 10-0 on the Texans. Now, clearly they fell apart, put up 30 points or whatever in the fourth quarter. But going back to saying that if you don't watch these full games of McDermott and Josh Allen, can be very deceiving if you're just looking at the numbers. So I like that you brought that up because I don't like the word average. I think, all of us on here have a lot more respect for them than that. But I 100% get the point that you're making.
I mean, Brian, if Brian wants to call him average, call him average. Do you want to finish your point, Brian?
I mean, so the Titans reference, just so you guys can get that a little bit, I call the Titans and like Mike Vrabel, just like they're the big overachievers. Now, I know that the way they finished this year was not overachieving by any means, but they just kept finding themselves in this position where people would call them frauds or they'd have the loss in the playoffs. And it's almost they shouldn't have been there anyways.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's the same with the Bills. Not that they shouldn't have even made the divisional round, but more so the expectations. Like, I just think it was complete fool's gold the past 2 years that everybody's picking the Bills. I just disagree with that. I think they would have been more of a dark horse, and it would require Josh Allen to go nuclear, which he did last year. And then they obviously gave up a score with 13 seconds.
I'm with you, Brian, to a point.
Infamy for Bills fans.
Infamy, tell you, and they have a lot to live with. Trust me. But I will be fair to start and say that they had a lot of injuries on defense to deal with because there's no Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer was out for a while. Obviously, we all know about DeMar Hamlin. And the one thing we kind of forget is that they are without the lone pass rusher on that team, Von Miller. And I think losing Von Miller was a lot bigger than we all expected because he kind of showed up against Cincinnati. They could not get any penetration whatsoever. We talk about Joe Burrow. The Cincinnati Bengals offensive line dominated that game, like completely dominated. Joe was clean, and I think they ran for like over $150. They dominated that game, and I think a lot of that is that going forward, not only do you bring Von Miller back healthy, hopefully, you need to add on top of that defensive line because clearly Ed Oliver and Rousseau are not the answers. Like, you got no penetration, and this is an offensive line in Cincinnati that was bringing 3 new people, and this was not even a game. Like, as much as the score at one point may have seemed like a game, after that first quarter of the 14-0 lead, like I said, this game's done. This is no longer a game. And so I think, to be fair to them, we didn't see them healthy, but y'all are right. His offense needs diversifying. It's just too Josh Allen-centric. And I said that, like Payton talks about it, I said that season after season after season, this is not going to win you games. And what hurt me is that James Cook was coming along at the back end of the season. So I figured, they found a way now to, run the football. And then things get tight, and they say, nope, we're done with that. We're not running the football. It's like, F them kids. We're not doing that. We're throwing the football.
Sorry.
What I just don't understand is, like, Josh Allen's turnovers are not an accident. It's because single play you expect him to be Superman and do something. So you're seeing him be casual with the football, arm-overing people, and just trying to take risk when the team can be more balanced. Payton, I see you want to jump in, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, there needs to come a point where, and I get that taking pressure off of him would help, but going into the league, we knew Josh Allen had an issue with recklessness and not taking care of the football.
Yeah, go look at his scouting report out of Wyoming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was his biggest knock.
Yep.
Sorry.
Biggest knock.
I'll let you finish. But the funny thing is, the 3 previous seasons before this, Josh Allen wasn't turning over the football in the red zone.
Right.
And then boom.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Red zone turnovers will make it look real ugly.
Exactly. And that's another thing too. You really have to capitalize on the red zone. But there's a point where, like, we need to say that, like, Josh Allen is very inconsistent sometimes, especially now that Deebo has left. This season, it has shown that he still has that reckless style of play in him that's just so erratic at times and unpredictable, which sometimes makes him great, but other times can cost his team tons of opportunities. And somehow, some way, the Bills managed to overcome that this year. I believe they turned the ball over like 3 or more times in 5 different games this year, and they were 3-2 in those games.
Josh Allen had 6 games with double-digit turns. 2+ turnovers.
Yeah, and that's their biggest problem is how do you get Josh Allen to stop turning the ball over and stop being so reckless?
Yep.
And I think that, like you say, Justin, it's to take the ball out of his hands.
Yep.
You know how you get him to stop turning over the football?
I want to ask you a question real quick, Justin, once you're done.
Get rid of Ken Dorsey and start the ball from under center.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. If y'all follow me on Twitter, y'all will know. My biggest pet peeve is teams that only run from shotgun. I hate it.
It's very unattractive.
It pisses me off.
Right.
Tell that to Stefanski. I'm saying, Deshaun Watson comes in and we want to run out of the gun. Why? We have Nick Chubb. Like, go under center still. But anyways.
Feel your pain. Kamara was used like a toy this year, not in a great way.
I see Brian want to jump in, so let Brian get in just quickly, but it pisses me off, and I understand that's part of this RPO league that we're going for, these run pass options. That's fine. But if you know you want to run the ball, get under center, put a fullback behind you.
Exactly.
Block the ball. Like, how hard is it?
Right.
Go on, Brian.
I was just going to say that Andy Reid, who I really like a lot, they don't really go, I know they do go under center, but it's extremely rare. I would bet about at the same rate that the Bills do. And that's the only other point I'm going to bring up. I know everybody loves to blame coaches, and I'm not really going to do that, but I think there's a comparison here. Not that Peyton's wrong really with anything that he said, but like, who's the other wildly reckless quarterback? It's Patrick Mahomes. Now, I know he doesn't turn the ball over at the same rate that Josh Allen does. However, if he was not with Andy Reid, you would see a lot more of that. So I don't think it's purely take the ball out of his hands, although they definitely need to run the ball more and they need to run it better.
Yep.
I think it's more like just help him out in the passing game, whether it's just communication or it's the concepts. Watching on TV, I can't pretend to know exactly what they're doing. All I do know is with the Bills, there's not very much like off of play action, quick in the flat.
Right.
Like, make it easy on Josh Allen and let the other guys do something. And I know we all mentioned, their weapons have to get better and all of that is good. Yeah. But partly they can help him out and kind of do some of what the 49ers do, what the Chiefs do, and not make it have to be a great throw. Like, Josh Allen had some misses in that game, but I truly think people are underrating how good he is on these throws that he makes look so easy. But the one that people kept bringing up is like he missed Diggs. Go back and watch that. It would have been an incredibly hard pass to complete. Like, at the end, we just see on TV that, Diggs was wide open. But the timing of it, like, Diggs took a little bit of a slow release to get out there, and then there was pressure in his face right away. So he kind of like slid to the left and up at the same time and threw it so early that those things are so tough to do. And he's asked to do that over and over and over. So I think the offensive coordinator can do some things, not just running the ball better. That's easy to say. But I think, not that Dawson Knox is great, but just like help Josh Allen, take the cheese. If you ever heard Trent Dilfer talk about quarterback play, like, just take the easy thing right away.
Yeah.
Give him some of those concepts.
Right. And I want to pick up off that too, because it's like, every quarterback is a different monster with a tight end. We've seen Patrick Mahomes, we've seen Peyton Manning, we've seen Drew Brees, like these guys it's a safety blanket. Lamar Jackson, like these guys have these comfortable things. So I think an upgrade, at the tight end spot would help too. But like you were mentioning with the play calling and the OC as well, it's like you've got Joe Burrow, the easy stuff. You got Jamar Chase on some flats. You got Joe Mixon out of the backfield, like a lot like you were saying, Brian. You've got Josh Allen who can do it, but it's like, okay, we're going to go 45 yards down the left hash while it's snowing. Like, and you want your receiver looking up, trying to, snow coming into their helmet, catching that. That's fine because you can do that, but it's just, kind of reading the room. And again, taking some of that. It's not so much as taking the ball out of his hands, but putting him in a better situation. And I've heard some crazy stuff ever since this game that people are like, okay, 6th year, Sean McDermott, what's the question? I don't think his job should really be looked at, But obviously they're going to have some talks this year. Exactly. I think that's crazy as well.
Crazy.
But they're going to have some talks this offseason about how to really bring it around, because they got to get over it. I mean, come on now. The Bengals and the Chiefs are not making it look any better or any easier for Buffalo at all.
I'm not a huge Sean McDermott detractor, but he's not the best game manager either. And these games do come down to late game situations. But
Coaching.
that's me. What do I know? What I do know is that we're going to move from one team whose relevance was all in 90s to the other team whose relevance was all in 90s and kind of before that, and trying to get their way back. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Hold up. Hell no.
Yeah, I gotta love Jimmy Johnson. I was actually watching football when that quote. Yeah, he said it. Yeah, I'm that old. Payton, we talked about how the Bills, or what the Bills need to do to get over the hump. But what about the Cowboys, who have now had back-to-back 12-win seasons, but can't even get to conference title game?
Man, I almost can't even really put my finger on what's wrong with the Cowboys. I could say Dak Prescott certainly turned the ball over too much this season. I believe every time he's played against a top 3 ranked scoring defense, he's 1-9 now after that loss to San Francisco. Yeah, so I would say Pollard's a free agent. They're going to have to bring him back. You have to bring him back. Don't get rid of Zeke, but cut his carries down a lot. Zeke is done. He's old news. He's over.
Yeah. That's so unfortunate, dude, but it's not a surprise.
Yeah, but it's just what happens to running backs these days is they come in and they have fresh legs coming out of college, and a lot of these guys just boom. And Zeke was part of, like, he just doesn't really look like he's in great shape. And that part of that's on him. But a lot of these guys, like Pollard has fresh legs right now. You need to give him the vast majority of the carries and maybe bring Zeke in for very short yardage situations.
Move Zeke to fullback.
Yeah, exactly. You could use him in a fullback role and he'll still be effective, but he is no longer a feature back. Tony Pollard's your feature back, so Dallas Cowboys are going to have to bring him back.
Yep.
And I would say go get a number 2 receiver. I mean, outside of CeeDee Lamb, we talk about the Bills not having a really reliable number 2 receiver. The Cowboys, ever since Amari Cooper left, like that hurt Dak. That Amari Cooper leaving was not, and for nothing too. But that really hurt that offense this season. And now Dak being tied for the league in interceptions, he's going to have to cut back on that.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have a lot of question marks, and all they can really do, because you can't blow it up. You have a top 5 defense in the league. Your defense has ball hawks all over. Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs. You can't blow it up all. You can't blow it all up yet.
Right.
But you have to raise an eyebrow at Dak a little bit and his help outside of CeeDee Lamb.
Just a little bit, Brian. Is it just a little bit with Dak? His conversations, and what else can Dallas do to fight get back to promised land?
No, I'd say a lot of Dak. Like, I really think I've said for years now that I really think that he's just very similar to Kirk Cousins. And I don't even necessarily mean that in like some awful way.
Right.
But just for me to realistically see the Cowboys, make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to have a great team around him. And you mentioned losing Amari Cooper. That is a big deal. But why did they lose him? And why was it only a 6th-round pick? Money. This team has been really bad with their money. Like Zeke, that contract is insane. And we all knew it in the moment, let alone how bad it looks now. Tony Pollard, I agree with everything you said. He looked awesome. He just broke his leg. So I don't know exactly how that's going to factor into his return. And but long story short, what it comes down to with the Cowboys is, to me, they're just in like purgatory. Like, they're good, but that's kind of all they can be. Like Mike McCarthy, I'm not here to say he's like a great coach, but back-to-back 12-win seasons, he won a lot in Green Bay. Like, he's good.
Yeah.
Dak, he's good, but nothing special about him.
Nope.
And to me, that's just where they're at. And because they have Jerry Jones, and really this is where they've been at for the past several seasons, he thinks I can spend to get them over the edge. And I'm not even necessarily saying that he's wrong, but it's just when you spend that money wrong, just one or two mistakes, now things become exponentially harder. Right. And so to me, I like a lot of their team. Like their defense, really good. I like the offensive line. Tony Pollard, I'm not even worried about the running back situation apart from how much they're spending on it. And then, yeah, they'll find a number 2 wide receiver. I think that's definitely necessary, but I like their tight end, Dalton Schultz. CeeDee Lamb is amazing. They're going to be good again next year. It's just likely going to end with the same outcome. Yeah. The only thing I'd say is I would consider, if I was Gary Jones, getting rid of Mike McCarthy if I could bring in like Sean Payton.
Shut up! Shut up!
To like throw out there. And hey, Jerry Jones will probably give away 2 first-round picks and pay Sean Payton $25 million.
Yeah, we'll take 2 first. We'll take 2 first, 100%.
Yeah, but that's the only thing to me that realistically they can do, other than somehow picking the best 7 guys in the draft this year. Something that's fairly unrealistic.
It must be Adam on the show because we found a way to include Georgia and the North. Adam, do we need to take a hard look at Dak Prescott and how else do the Cowboys improve or finally get back to Super Bowl?
Well, I'm diving straight into what you just said. If we're taking a hard look at Dak Prescott, I've already done that. I've done that for the last, what is this, his 7th year? 6th year, 7th year in the NFL. The guy's in his 30s now, early 30s. He's 61 and 36 in his entire career. So I mean, that's pretty remarkable, right? 2.5 touchdown to interception ratio. But I've always said Dak is just not special. He'll manage the game. He'll win it. He'll lose it. It's not a fantastic arm. He's better than average at reading defenses, but it's nothing special, right? I totally agree with Brian. I totally agree with Payton as well. Great minds think alike. You clearly need to get him some help. Tony Pollard has, that injury's bad. Zeke is, clearly fallen off. So there's a lot that's in the air right now for the Cowboys. But I've already taken a look at Dak Prescott. Like this is what he is. This is exactly what Dak is. I understand if he had more receivers and he had another tight end, whatever the case may be, but this is Dak Prescott. And I say it every year, and I feel like I'm one of the few people that like, oh, you're a Dak Prescott hater. You just don't know talent in a situation when you see one. He had a chance against Mr. Irrelevant. I get it. It was the defense, and he's not playing right against Brock Purdy. But Dak didn't play good. He didn't play good. And it is what it is, I think Dak is a good guy. He's great at the podium. But I mean, if we're really being real and not even to be a hot take guy, you see what you can get for Dak. Because Dak is not going to take you to the Super Bowl. He's not going to. And the more we see of Dak Prescott throughout his career, it kind of makes the rookie year look like a fluke. And I know he had talent in the rookie year. And again, I know there's injuries this year. I understand there's a lot going into this situation, but this is Dak. He's not special. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He's franchised for the regular season, and he might steal you a divisional. But that's it to me, man. I mean, I don't know how many different ways I can say it.
So before I pile on to that, I'll start by this. Y'all mentioned it. The Cowboys have a ton of key free agents that they may have to bring back, including Tony Pollard. I'll go through the list.
I love it. It's like, I got you. And by the way, for anyone says, I know Dak is not tradable because of the contract and because the Cowboys are never going to move off of Dak Prescott. But to tell, like if Jerry Jones asked me right now, Adam, what do you think I could realistically do to take my team to the next level? I say you move off Dak Prescott. So his market is out there. Contract, not sexy. I get it.
But for who?
Year left on this contract.
Correct. But for who? That is a good question. But I would rather explore who else, because you know what Dak is. You know what Dak is in the system. I don't care what other coach you bring in. I don't care what other running back you bring in. I don't care what other wide receivers you bring in. Yes, that is talent, but it requires execution out of Dak that I know he's not capable of. I know he's not. I'm gonna say that.
I'm gonna jump in for a second.
No, go ahead.
You can give us what you're saying, Justin. But The problem with the thing is the Cowboys are stuck, like a ton of different NFL teams are right now.
Perfectly
They're
said it right
stuck.
there. They are
And
very stuck.
every team that has an average quarterback, because that's what Dak is, and you hit the nail right on the head. We know what Dak is.
Yep.
Dak is a B to a B+ quarterback at best.
Yep.
And can you win a Super Bowl with that? Maybe. You might, but only if you have the right pieces around him. So you have two options. You blow it all up, and you're just going to suck.
Right.
Which you can't do.
Yep.
Or you try to put as many pieces around him as possible so that if he catches lightning in a bottle in a postseason, like Brock Purdy is doing right now, you can get to a Super Bowl potentially. That's the only thing you can do when you have an average quarterback, because the problem is if you move off of Dak Prescott, who is it? Who is it? And we thought it could be Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson went and sucked. So now the market's a little bit cold on trading for veteran quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
It's a rough decision to make.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, so they have a ton of free agents. They're Dalton Schultz, Jason Peters, Leighton Van Der Esch, Anthony Brown, and I'm missing a lot of them. I just call it key ones, and Donovan Wilson. You're going to have to bring back a lot of those. But to your point, guys,
Leighton is a must.
The only way this works, you're going to have to surround Dak with a ton of talent. And, I've always been on the fence with Dak, but no longer. Yesterday was a prime example why, you talk about the 2 interceptions. Guys, it should have been 4. Including the pick 6 to finish the game.
Thank you.
And just 4 passes, because there are 2 more that are even worse that we didn't even realize, or at least I didn't realize in the game.
Right.
The one where Fred Warner takes, what's his name? CeeDee Lamb up the field. Huh? This is why I absolutely love that former Lions quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, on shows, because he breaks things down so perfectly. On that play in which Fred Warner takes CeeDee Lamb up the field, do you know that the left side of the field is completely free? Like, T.Y. Hilton beats his guy off the line, and there is no safety help on that lane.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, right, San Francisco was showing blitz on the left side of the lane, and they just backed out of it, right? And for whatever reason, Dak misread that. But even if San Francisco brought the blitz from the left side, guys, don't you throw if you're throwing hot, don't you throw from where the blitz is coming from? So shouldn't that have taken his eyes to the left side of the field, where there was absolutely no one covering T.Y. Hilton? That was one pass. The other one, which was equally as worse, which should have led to another walk-in touchdown, it was where, what name am I missing? Michael Gallup was on the right side.
Yep.
Again, beats his man off the lane, and the throw was supposed to lead him towards the inside of the hash. That not only throws it late, he throws it to the outside of the hash, allowing the defender to recover and, forcing Gallup to adjust, and he doesn't catch it. Those are 6 bad misses. Like, those 2 passes that, that you just mentioned, that hits those, we're not having this discussion.
Right.
Talking about, can the Dallas Cowboys legitimately win a Super Bowl? So it tells me this team needs to surround Dak with as much talent as possible. Because, and again, in fairness, the Cowboys looked so different the moment that Tony Pollard went down. Like, it was all, we have to force feed CeeDee Lamb the ball. And I know Brian likes CeeDee Lamb. I still have questions as whether he can be a true number 1, but the numbers suggest he is. I just don't know. But I know that CeeDee Lamb can't be all you have out there. Tony Pollard is going to take some time to get back. If they even bring it back, they need weapons, because, like y'all said, and I don't want to dump on that, but he's not that guy that can elevate your team. And yesterday was a clear and obvious example. Go ahead, Adam.
As much as it raised my blood pressure earlier that Brian was mentioning Sean Payton, considering that, obviously we're about to head into the next segment. After all this has been said, they're trapped with Dak. They can't move off of him, really. What's his market? And let's just look at perspective of the game. Who's better, Dak or Brock Purdy? Clearly Dak Prescott. Again, it's a rookie, but I think everybody would take Dak over Brock Purdy. Maybe not, but let's just leave it there, right? Now, who's a better coach, Kyle Shanahan or Mike McCarthy? Clearly Kyle Shanahan. And kind of like you said earlier, Peyton, when you were talking about Kevin Stefanski, you remember the Freddie Kitchens days when y'all had a lot of talent, right? And then Kevin Stefanski comes in, coach of the year, obviously playoffs, Baker catches lightning in a bottle, the whole nine. So as much as I hate to side with you, Brian, yeah, I think right now it's a coaching change. Absolutely. And I guess on the Sean Payton level, I guess. Damn it.
I would be. I'm not a huge Mike McCarthy fan for obvious reasons. I lived through that.
Really?
I'm not a huge one.
Yeah.
I will say this. I would be wary of moving on from Mike McCarthy unless given the right circumstance. Like Brian said, it'll have to be a Sean Payton. I'm not moving on from Mike McCarthy to give Kellen Moore the job because
no.
I'm not a fan of Kellen Moore. Now, if you tell me Dan Quinn, maybe. I don't know.
No. I think DQ has found his spot, and if we thought the league was offensive in 2016 when the Falcons blew it, I'll just say Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Trevor Lawrence have emerged since then. So I don't think it would be smart for DQ to get a head coaching job.
I don't see a situation, guys, and call me crazy, that Dan Quinn doesn't get a head coaching job this season. Like, I honestly believe he's going to get one of these.
Where does he go?
I don't know, but he's going to get one of these.
Yeah.
He might, but the league really has gone offensive.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn
especially the only way I'd bring in a defensive
the Super Bowl
head coach at this point would be if I had an established quarterback that I wasn't worried about at all.
Yeah.
But even still, like all the teams left, which I know it's only 4, have offensive coaches. I think even the previous, divisional round, I think it was 7 out of 8 were offensive. That's just where the league's going because it is so, the rules, we all know. We don't need to talk about it all day and just it's quarterback centric.
Right.
So I think Mike McCarthy, again, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying he should be fired. I just think that's the only other things like Sean Payton, throw it out there. The last thing I want to say on this, just because, I'm a coach, I get perturbed with people, everybody thinks all the coaches suck, and you see it all over Twitter, and it's it's just like it is crazy to me.
The coach slander.
The last play for the Cowboys, I see the Cowboys getting shredded, and of course it did not work out. And Zeke's probably really unhappy because he's on social media forever. But like they're on their own 24 with 5 seconds. Like usually we see worse. We usually see the couple. Laterals that ends up getting a lineman's hand and it ends up with a defensive touchdown. They at least in my mind, got creative and we're like, okay, well, let's go ahead and bring on somebody like an extra skill player that maybe we can run the ball. And I just think lastly, the 49ers were awesome on that last play. Like they knew what they were doing, trying to set up the little, lateral it a million times and hope you get lucky. And they were just aggressive. Sat on the short throw, smacked it right away. That's how you end the game.
I will say this. That's not why I would potentially move on from Mike McCarthy. What I would move on from Mike McCarthy for, and I'm saying in no way to fire him, I'd only move on given the right circumstance, is a team usually takes on the coach's personality up. And 2 things. 1, Dallas is a very ill-disciplined team.
Oh, yeah.
You see that with penalties throughout the year. And Dalton Schultz, oh my God, typified that at the end of the game. Not 1, but 2 brain farts. Not knowing to turn up the field before going out of bounds, 1, and 2, being absolutely lackadaisical on that catch. Yes, you can't blame Mike McCarthy for that, but I always say teams tend to take on the personality of the coach and the ill-discipline with the penalties and that sort of lack of focus. Also, guys, don't forget the 20 or 23 seconds it took for them to get off that punt, wasting that time. That's on Mike McCarthy. He has never been, and 2, he has always been a poor clock manager. And I'm not here guessing. I can tell you, Mike McCarthy is a poor clock manager, but I'm not managing the clock well myself, so we need to move on. New York Giants, gentlemen, they have some decisions to make, notably on offense with 2 guys. So, Peyton, considering the year they had, they made it to the divisional round. Should the New York Giants keep both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, move on from one, or forget both and start afresh?
This is rough. I don't know about Saquon, and I think that he is great and he added a lot of value to that offense this season, but he's a running back and he's already been injured and he's had injury problems throughout his career. So there's that raises an eyebrow. But in terms of Daniel Jones, yes, I understand he played so much better with Brian Daboll at head coach. And I know we all wanted the story of Brian Daboll's going to come in and he saved Daniel Jones, who was flopping. And now New York is going to be great again and everything's going to be happy. Well, yes, Daniel Jones looked good. He looked really good in the wild card round against Minnesota's defense, who is awful. Like, Minnesota's defense is awful, and it's Swiss cheese. There's holes all around. They're giving out yards and touchdowns to everybody in Minnesota. Now, what did he do against teams that had an above 500 record? So when Daniel Jones had to rise to the occasion and lead his team to victory, they were 3-8. The Giants were 3-8 this season against teams with an above 500 record.
Ooh.
That is not good. That's really, really bad. You need to have faith. If you're going to extend your quarterback and make him your franchise guy, you need to make sure that he can put you above other teams. You have to beat the best to be the best. And at the end of the day, the Giants weren't very good against good football teams, and that could partly be on Daniel Jones.
Same question, Adam. Bring back both, one, or none of the above.
It's like, what other option do they have? Like, why wouldn't you bring back Daniel Jones? In my opinion.
Go
Go ahead.
Just saying.
What'd you say?
You asked what other options, and they gave you two: Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. But go ahead, continue.
Well, God, you got me messed up, bro. I mean, so let me stick to my guns. But yeah, so Brian Daboll, obviously we've said it. We know what he's done. Great job. Pretty remarkable in my opinion, because he took a, head scratching pick for the New York Giants and is now making the fan base feel a little bit better, at least for the regular season. Okay, this guy can, maybe not rise to the occasion, because you did just, put it out there, Payton, obviously with the numbers. But I guess if the schedule favors him and he's put in the moment, and that is saying something, not every quarterback can do it when they're put in the moment. Daniel Jones maybe showed them that, right? So I don't think you break up that chemistry and that continuity that Brian Daboll probably worked his ass off for with a quarterback like Daniel Jones. And the fact that Daniel Jones has taken that step, and I know this is the year to pick up the 5th-year option. Yeah? No? Okay, I thought it was. Oh,
they already declined it. You got to do it the year ahead.
Right, they actually declined it last season, didn't they? Okay, yeah, I remember that news breaking. So you can ask the question of, did he play himself into a contract? Which maybe yes, maybe no. You tag him and he's going to make $40 million, considering the top 5 salaries right now in the NFL for the quarterback. So that's a little intense as well. And to me, Daniel Jones does seem like a guy who wouldn't be money hungry. I mean, of course, we don't know him. He's pretty quiet. Obviously, he talks at the podium, but he's not a really, out there outside of the field that we really see. Excuse me, of Daniel Jones. So I feel like they could negotiate with him and maybe get him to take, call me crazy, $28 million, $31 million. I don't know, for Daniel Jones, which for me is still too much. But the quarterback market is insane. I mean, come on now. We're going to see $70 million contracts before we know it. And how do you get rid of Saquon? Saquon came back this year. Couldn't believe people were calling him a bust. He was oddly enough. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I know we got to get onto the other topics. But with all the injuries and everything, Saquon was looking pretty rough. And now that he's back, he seems pretty healthy. I just wouldn't want to break that yet, especially if I'm a Giants fan. I would at least like to see probably 1 to 2 more years of Daniel Jones with Brian Daboll. Maybe not. I don't know. Haven't really talked with the G-Men squad out there that, really follow the team. But how do you move on from these guys? Considering that they were playing with all house money this year. I get it. 3-8, it seems above 500, which again, great stat pull there, Peyton. I think that's a lot of context to this team. And I think that's what a lot of people needed to hear in terms of the surprise, obviously, behind the Giants. But yeah, I don't see how you move off these guys. Really don't.
It's hurtful because I was one of those below 500 teams. That Brian, what did the Giants do?
Daniel Jones is going to make an awesome backup quarterback one day. And he's not there yet. But he is. He's going to be an awesome backup.
Yeah.
He is. Like, he is. Like, I could see him right now, like, with the Chiefs, doing what Chad Henne's doing, like, just being a great backup
like
quarterback.
Teddy doing my Saints.
And do I? Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Now, with Daniel Jones, what the Giants should do, they should offer him, like you're saying, the quarterback market is out of control.
Insane.
But my mind immediately went to like 2 years, $40 million. You make it basically like it's only 1 year guaranteed.
Right.
So it'd be like $25 million guaranteed. That way you could eat the second year if you had to.
Yeah.
Maybe, like you're saying, that ends up being 2 years for $50 million.
Right.
But regardless, they're crazy to like actually commit to him in any way. And I do think they should bring him back, like, again, 2 years for 40, let's say.
That's very fair.
And work on bringing in another quarterback at the same time. Because we have to be honest with ourselves. The NFL, and I love it about it, it's football in general,
right.
but we'll never be the NBA.
Right.
Like, none of these teams, coaches, GMs, owners are going to say, yeah, just let Daniel Jones walk. We have, like, the 22nd pick. And we'll just ride it out with some flyer on like the 5th or 6th best quarterback in the draft. And, at least on paper, be worse. Like, that's not going to happen. They're going to say, we made the playoffs. Let's try to do that again.
Yeah. And
then work on actively bringing in somebody else. I don't think they'll want to commit to Derek Carr, to be honest. I know you brought that up. And then same with Jimmy G. Maybe they bring in both and Jimmy G starts as the backup, and then we can kind of all see how that might play out. But Saquon, love him, all going to come down to the dollar amount.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a favorable dollar amount, yeah.
Yep.
If it gets to $10 million a year, no. Sorry. It's just not a good investment.
So, Brian, if Daniel Jones gets 2 years for $40 million and he comes back and goes 500 next year, you still want to move off of him, considering how Daboll has given you back-to-back acceptable seasons of Daniel Jones compared to what he had before?
Yeah, I'm moving off of Daniel Jones no matter
Got
what.
you.
It's almost to the point where I don't care what he does.
Yeah.
That's fairly realistic, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, you tell me 40 touchdowns and 5 picks. Okay. But
we got the NFC title game or what?
He threw 25 touchdown passes. I don't even know what he did this year, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But like 25 touchdown passes and 7 picks, and they maybe barely made it to the playoffs again. Yeah, I'm moving off of Daniel Jones. I mean, you suggested it, and I'm not even saying you're completely crazy, but like you suggested it for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Like, for Daniel Jones, I feel that 100%.
Like, come on.
The thing is in the NFL with the amount of quarterbacks and high-powered offenses these days, he's acceptable. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. And that's honestly, you really, Adam, you gave me the best word to describe Daniel Jones. Like, he's acceptable. Yeah. Like, he belongs in the NFL. But much like Brian said, he'll be a very good backup one day. There's no way.
Yeah.
Or
bridge.
Yeah.
I'll one up y'all and say he'll be a good bridge. But it's only been
so
1
was
year. Let me
Tyrod
shut my
Taylor.
mouth before I eat crow.
y'all guys hint on it, and y'all are being.
He's
I'll be the guy
acceptable.
not to be kind. Like Brian said, let's deal with Saquon first. Once it's below $10 million per year, bring him back. But somebody's crazy enough to offer Saquon more just to overpay to get him. With Daniel Jones, like, guys,
Question is Saquon
we
on
know
a
what
contract right now?
is and what he's not. And what he's not is an elite quarterback. What he's not is he's not even above average. Let's move on. Like, what are we talking about? Daniel Jones. We have a situation where Brian Daboll was basically hiding him. You talk about Baker Mayfield in Cleveland when Kevin Stefanski came in and basically hit him. This is even worse. Brian Daboll is basically saying, I don't want you throwing the football. I think there's a stat out there where Daniel Jones has the least amount of yards and attempts in passing the football in the fourth quarter. It's basically Brian Daboll saying, I don't trust you. You are not good enough. I'm going to give the ball Saquon. And if you can't give it to Saquon, I'm asking you, Daniel Jones, to run and do something outside. I cannot trust you within the pocket. And if that is the situation, guys, look at the division they're currently in. The Philadelphia Eagles are only going to get better from here on out. The Cowboys defense is good enough that they're going to be good every single year. If you're going to contend, you can't hope for this situation where you're only beating teams with a below 500 record. Teams are going to get better. Your schedule is going to get better just because. I know Brian doesn't like it. I'm going to go for Derek Carr. And I'm not saying Derek Carr is a long-term answer. I'm using Derek Carr as a bridge. I'm going to use him as a
Derek
bridge.
Carr to New York?
Yeah, Derek Carr is done in Las Vegas. Let's understand.
Yeah.
They didn't have to say that it is done. For whatever nonsense that Josh McDaniels intends to do, whether he thinks that Tom Brady can come and save him, or if he has another idea, I don't know. But Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders are done. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And any team with hopes of contention that thinks that they're quarterback away, and I'm not suggesting that the Giants are just a quarterback away.
Hell no.
But any team that thinks that they're just a quarterback away, I've given a call to Derek Carr because I don't know. You could do a hell of a lot worse than Derek Carr in this league right now. And I'm not saying he's the answer, but a decent bridge if you want to continue to be respectable in the NFC East and keep up with the powers that be, and get Derek Carr till I'm bad enough to get a good draft pick and draft, or at least try to swing for Caleb Williams next year. I know Brian wants to hear that.
My Saints are taking for Caleb next year.
Pardon me?
I said my Saints are going to tank for Caleb next year if we don't get enough for Sean Payton. I want CJ Stroud so bad. So bad. So bad. Y'all don't understand. I'm going to be it'll probably be a weekly segment on the show, the Sean Payton sweepstakes.
It should be.
Sorry. Next topic. I'm so sorry.
No, I bet Sean Payton to end up in Denver, but thanks for reminding me.
It just pisses me off that he's on the herd. Oh, yeah, we're looking at a mid to low first round compensation. This dude came into a franchise that was one of the worst in sports history and made them a contender for 10 out of the 15 years he was there. NFC title game first year. I'm not even hyping up my team, but I'm saying this to say if we fumble the bag in terms of compensation on Sean Payton, it's going to make perfect sense because we're kind of on that, Mendoza line. We got the players, cap space obviously isn't great, but if we could bring in a quarterback despite Dennis Allen's stupid ass, which I'm not even going to go there, we got to capitalize on Sean Payton's value, man. We do.
And you need to stop relying on these players and blow it all up. I think the sort of situation, they need to blow it all up. But that's a conversation for another day. It's in
Michael
the title.
Thomas will be gone, thank God. No, I'm for real. We restructured his contract. It looks like it basically means it'll be the end. But I know we got to move.
I think we foresaw that ever since.
Right.
But
so sad. I'm gonna start crying. We got to move on.
Everyone has been waiting for this, guys. Everyone is hoping for our picks. So, Peter, I'm gonna give you first crack. Let's start. What did I put in my notes? Which one? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't even know. For NFC title game. So, Peter, I'll give you first crack. Who wins 49ers, Eagles, and white?
Give me the 49ers to go upset the Eagles in Philly. Brock Purdy is going all the way to the Super Bowl. Listen, like I mentioned earlier, the 49ers are giving up 77.7 rush yards per game. That's second fewest in the NFL. The Cowboys going into the divisional round averaged 131.7 rush yards a game. That was good for 9th in the NFL. Pollard, before he got hurt, 3.7 yards per carry, and Zeke, 2.6 yards per carry versus the 49ers in the divisional round. And the Eagles, they're 2-3 when they rush for under 100 yards. So give me the 49ers. They're going to force Jalen Hurts to beat them with the arm, and it's not going to work out well. They're going to control the clock and play good defense just like they've done all year long. So give me the 49ers to upset the Eagles.
Brian, Eagles, 49ers, who won white?
I'm expecting a lot out of you here, Brian.
Give me the 49ers for sure. Now, the Eagles, they have the better roster from top to bottom, I think. But Justin pointed out at the top, they do have a relative deficiency in stopping the run. And, Brock Purdy's been awesome, first of all. He's been awesome. He hasn't been a top 5 quarterback or nothing crazy, but, he really has been good. And I know a lot of people are just, hating on Brock Purdy and saying that he's not good enough and all of this, and it's only Kyle Shanahan. It's only the 49ers. Like, just plug in a quarterback. Well, he gets to play with the 49ers this weekend. Like, Kyle Shanahan's still going to be his coach. And Kyle Shanahan is awesome. He is awesome. I know he's not perfect, and that's the standard that we have. I know he's not perfect, but he is awesome. The 49ers are going to win this game. I think they have DeMeco Ryans, probably his last year with the 49ers. To me, it just comes down to they have more weapons. They have, in my opinion, the better coach.
Of course.
They have a quarterback who's hot. He's not the better quarterback, of course. And to me, they have the best, probably 2 defensive players on the field. And Nick Bosa, who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Sure. And
then Fred Warner. Like, I expect them to make the plays when it comes down to it. And this is going to be a close game. But I do think the 49ers are going to go in to Philly and upset some people.
Are you going to prevent this for the this San Francisco sweep here, Adam?
Hell yeah. Come on, man. Come on. We're really expecting, again, all respect to Brock Purdy. Undefeated, never lost. Totally get that. But we're like, this is just going to be the time. Like it just, again, it came down to me when we started the show. Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy, because Jalen Hurts is going to see his best defense and in the biggest moment of the year, versus Brock Purdy is going to see his best defense clearly by far. At least Jalen Hurts has seen the Cowboys twice this year. Obviously, I know he didn't play once. And we're going to expect him to rise to the occasion. I get it. Shanahan, Kittle, the yak merchants out there, and Deebo and all those guys, right? But this is Jalen Hurts' year, man. He was so disrespected in the draft. I can't believe he fell as far as he did. And people seem to forget that if Joe Burrow did not happen, Jalen Hurts, I think we're having a completely different conversation about Jalen Hurts wins that Heisman. I'm not going to turn back the clock, but there's been a lot of disrespect for Jalen Hurts. And I understand he's ironically kind of in the same situation as Brock Purdy. But it's the Eagles' time, man. The Eagles, they got to the Super Bowl with Nick Foles clearly a few years back. They've had a couple more runs after that into the playoffs, nothing crazy. But this is the year, dude. 100%. The Eagles are going to win this football game. I trust Jalen over Brock Purdy. Again, I get it. Shanahan over Sirianni all day, but I don't see how the Eagles can truly let this one get away, honestly.
Because, Adam, football is one of the trenches. So that's why you don't ever talk about quarterbacks. They look at trench play.
Oh, yeah.
And weirdly enough, the Philadelphia Eagles, as I said at the top of the show, probably have the best offensive line in football.
They do, number 1 by PFF.
That's a concern for me because, again, I saw San Francisco really didn't get after Dak a lot. But maybe they don't want to get after Jalen Hurts at all in this game. Brian, for me, it comes down to which Kyle Shanahan we get. And I'll say this way because I'm not the biggest Kyle Shanahan fan.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan has a tendency of getting cute. And by cute, we've seen Dan Orlovsky break it down. He has this 21 personnel. And by 21, I mean, 2 running backs, 1 tight end.
Yeah.
And he loves that personnel because with that personnel, with Kyle Juszczyk, he is like this jackknife. Like all these players they've gathered. It's like positionless football, like we talk about with basketball. They all are the same type of player. You can give them the ball in any place, and they can all do something after the catch. No, Kyle has this thing, and I understand why he likes to create mismatches. So you're going to see times he's going to motion out Christian McCaffrey out wide, like a wide out, to bring Deebo Samuel in the backfield. And part of that is to bring corners into the line of scrimmage to make tackles. And if you're ever played as a corner, you would know no corner, no true cover corner wants to play at the line of scrimmage, unless, of course, you're Charles Woodson. But anyway, straight from that. Like, corners don't want to play at the line. And the whole thing with Kyle Shanahan, he likes to out-leverage you and create mismatches. I don't see that to be in need here against Philadelphia. I look back at the Dallas game, and the when the offense took off, for lack of a better word, is when Cal got back to his roots and ran power football. And considering Philadelphia has a deficiency in stopping the run, you would figure, cut the crap, Kyle. No need to get cute. Put Kyle Juszczyk behind the line of scrimmage as a fullback. Put Christian McCaffrey behind him and run it down football. And anything that comes out of that, play action. and keep Brock Purdy. And the reason I'm not concerned about Brock Purdy, I'm not seeing this just because I picked the 49ers to win the Super Bowl.
There you are.
If there was a system that you wanted a rookie 7th-round quarterback to play in, it is this one. Because you're not asking Brock Purdy to do too much. No. Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. All of these players do their best after the catch. You do not have to figure out a way to get these kids the ball. And then you can sit down and say, all right, well, you're going to play and run. And if Brandon Ayuk happens to be one-on-one with no safety help on the outside, you take that shot. They're not asking Brock Purdy to do a lot. It comes down if Kyle is going to get cute with these mismatches or if he's going to run the down football. And Kyle, I'm here speaking to you right now as a friend of the 49ers. Right now, run the down football. And if we get that, Kyle Shanahan, I'm going to go with the 49ers. If Kyle gets cute and does all that nonsense, Philadelphia's offensive line, even if he doesn't get cute, I think Philadelphia's offensive line can still dominate this game. Guys to the other side, Adam, I'll start with you. Bengals Chiefs Part 4.
Oh man, this is a hard pick. It really is. I mean, first of all, what can we say about the matchup? Right, we're literally watching an awesome rivalry brew in front of us, and I feel like, not even I feel like, I know this is going to be an iconic part of Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes' career. You know, clearly we talked about the mental edge before for each of them. I feel like I got to go with Cincinnati, man. Just something. When it comes to these close games, I sit there and think, I'm like, okay, how do I truly feel about this football game? Like, I know we had the numbers, we got the players, we got the injuries, you know, we got the injury report, all that stuff that's put out there, but genuinely, like, just the continuous emergence of like the questions about Zach Taylor out the window, in my opinion now. Joe Burrow, clearly, you know, this is like my entire career is the window. I mean, the dude he just keeps leveling up, I feel like, you know, and it's time. It's time for Joe Burrow to really put his stamp on the NFL. Like I know he did it last year, but this win over Kansas City, I just think truly opens everyone's eyes in terms of the Bengals actually being here. They're not going anywhere. Joe Burrow, I have to give all my respect to Joe Burrow. I really do. I truly thought, and I'll continue to say this, I truly thought Joe Burrow was one of those college quarterbacks that, you know, anyone could have fit in to that LSU system, right? They were potentially the best college football team we've ever seen. And I was like, oh, great. You know, he got in at the right time. Like, awesome story. Clearly he had some, you know, big moments there, won the Heisman, number 1 overall pick. But what he's actually doing with this Cincinnati franchise to have 5 playoff wins in essentially his first 2 full years as a starter, and to know that for 5+ decades before they only had 5 playoff wins, it's just a testament to what Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor and what this culture is really becoming in Cincinnati. And don't get me wrong, Mahomes is going to play. You know, Reed and Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Pacheco is not going to be difficult, or excuse me, it's going to be difficult, obviously, to crack that code there. But I'm taking Joe Burrow in this one. I'm taking Zach Taylor. I'm taking Jamar Chase. And realistically, you know, when I take a look at these defenses, I'm like, okay, you know, which one could really rise to that occasion, I guess, to take over the game? But I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. I could see like a 38-35 Bengals win. I really could. Not saying it's going to go there, but if it did, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm taking Joe Burrow and them Bengals. Who they say that they're going to beat them Bengals. Am I picking them because the Saints are who dat? I don't know. Maybe, but that's my pick.
Another Saints reference. I didn't see that.
You know, honestly, that's the only reason I come on the show is because you let me do it. I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding, bro. I owe so much to you. I do, man. You've been amazing.
You're good. Payton, 4 straight, or do the Chiefs finally get over the Bengals hump?
I'm going with Cincy. And the only reason why, is 3 words. Joseph Lee Burrow. That man, he doesn't ever miss. He always rises to the occasion. You talk about guys who rise to the occasion. It's not Daniel Jones. It's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow rises to every occasion ever given to him in his career, and he surpasses expectations every single time. Not only that, Joe Mixon and all the weapons, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. There's just too much on the Cincinnati team for Kansas City to be able to stop that. And like we mentioned earlier, the unpredictability of Kansas City's offense is going to be it's almost like going to be a non-factor in the game, especially with how injured Patrick Mahomes is. It's going to be a much more predictable offense. Now, I still think it's going to be a good game, but also Brian mentioned this earlier. The unsung hero of this team in Cincy is this defense. This defense has been very good all year, especially in late in fourth quarter games. So I'm going with the Bengals. Joe Burrow rises to the occasion. He's going to take advantage of this Kansas City offense being not nearly as explosive as it is when Patrick Mahomes is fully healthy. I still think the Chiefs are going to play a good game. It's going to be close. But give me the Bengals to win this. And guess what? It doesn't even matter who wins in the NFC Championship game. The Bengals and Joe Burrow are winning their first championship this season. Book it.
Ordinators named damn you. I'm seeing a Cincinnati Bengals sweeping his predictions here.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bengals. I think they're, the hot team. They've got the combination of the quarterback and the situational defense, especially. I would look, everybody's hit on Joe Burrow. I don't need to say it, but I would look for offensively this to be a big Trent Irwin game. He's like their number 4 receiver. Expect him, especially. He's going to run the little bender, split the 2 high safeties. He'll get a touchdown that way, and I think make a couple other plays. And then the big matchup on defense that I think not necessarily will go in their favor, but where they match up decent is they'll have Logan Wilson, linebacker, Akeem Davis-Gaither, linebacker, that one I think are good players, but particularly in pass coverage, they got some speed, so I think that can help with a lot of the underneath stuff that I think the Chiefs will try, and specifically Travis Kelce, and then along with that, Daxton Hill, who's kind of like a hybrid safety corner. Don't be surprised to see him matched up on Travis Kelce. Now, the Chiefs, the X factor there is going to be Jerick McKinnon with his pass blocking ability. And then we all know, like, the Chiefs can get so gadgety. They love the shovel pass. So, of course, his pass catching ability, but specifically his pass blocking. That's going to be big because the mobility of Patrick Mahomes is likely going to be limited.
Yeah, I thought you'd go the other back, but I guess Pacheco is not as good as a pass blocker as you just mentioned. I think this is a Pacheco game, right? Like, everything is setting up for that. Patrick Mahomes and his injured, ankle on top of Cincinnati is accustomed playing just 3 up front and dropping back everyone. You're inviting them to rush the football. And before, Kansas City was so, against it. They just refused to do it. And I think now you may be forced to sit down and say, all right, just to keep you honest, going to get some Pacheco down your throat and see what you're going to do. But at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be too much. Like, a healthy Mahomes with Tyreek Hill can have beat this squad before. And now there's no Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes now will not be able to extend plays. I suspect that Cincinnati, I don't want to say this because, like, to go and quote Rudy Tomjanovich, I believe in the heart of a champion, but I also believe in execution and play on the field. And everything tells me, like, from Cincinnati finding a way for their offensive line to produce despite the 3 injuries on the lane. And I want to say this right, and no one mentions his name. T. Higgins is so damn good.
Oh, yeah.
So damn good. And when he was coming out in the draft, right, I thought for sure my Green Bay Packers cannot miss on getting T. Higgins and, well, Jordan Love. And, well, don't have to go any further than that. You've heard the commentators say it, and I've said it before I heard the commentators say this. T. Higgins is a true number 1 on any other team. Like, not, well, any other team that doesn't have Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs. Like this kid is really good. Like, and I think
that's a hot take, Justin.
Pardon?
That's a hot take. Any team in the league, T. Higgins is a wide receiver 1?
any team that doesn't have, like, obviously like a Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams or Justin Jefferson, like this kid, it is not like this kid is just benefiting from Jamar Chase being on the field. Huh? Like when Jamar Chase is down, you saw what
I mean, he was that dude before Jamar showed up, for sure.
T. Higgins is really good.
Jamar really stole his job.
He has a full rope tree, and he is a big body.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the hell we in Green Bay found a way to pass on them. I'm sorry to make this a Packers episode.
Man, it's all good.
This kid can ball. And I think he is the reason that elevates his offense. Not to say, obviously, Joe Burrow is really good and obviously Jamar Chase. But the mere fact that you have a number 2 that could be a number 1, like defenses ask themselves, what the hell do we do with this receiving core? And then you have Tyler Boyd behind that. And Hayden Hurst, like, it's just going to be too much. And even if you find a way that's dropped back in coverage, this team is not afraid to run the football. And now their offensive line is finding ways or finding holes to create for Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
Give me the Bengals in a close one. Gentlemen, we spent about an hour and a half here. I'm going to let y'all plug yourself. Brian, go first.
You can follow me at Bolstered Up Sports. Been mostly active on TikTok and Twitter. Thanks for having me, Justin.
No, it's always a pleasure to have you. You know, every time that Sunday comes, he gets that tweet. Hey, Brian, you ready for tomorrow? Payton, it's been way too long. Plug yourself. Tell the kind folks how to find you.
I don't have anything to plug. I don't even have any social media installed on my phone right now. So I would say just follow all of these great gentlemen on the panel with me. And Justin, thank you for having me on again, man.
No, thank you for coming back. It's been way too long. Adam is here every week, but he has a big announcement to make now. So,
yeah. Yes. As y'all have heard, being on the show the last few weeks, I'm officially getting back into the podcasting game. I'm sure you've seen the new equipment, the new background and everything. But I'm very excited. I want to give a shout out to you, Justin, you, Brian, you, Payton. I know we've all done shows here recently that have really just energized me and put me back in. You know, sometimes it's really hard to get. This is what we love. This is why we do it. The NFL with AJL will be coming out either this Friday or next Friday. Not sure because I'm just itching to get this content out, but it's going to be 100% an NFL show. You can actually go ahead and find us on social media. The new logo and everything is already out, so I'm super pumped for that. 2 live shows a week, Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Probably about 30 minutes to an hour, but you never know what it can turn into. I'm very excited. Obviously going to be transcribed into a podcast as well. And like I've always said, I sell real estate, guys. Buy and sell with AJL if you're looking for an awesome realtor in the Atlanta area, or I know agents all around the world, believe it or not. So NFL with AJL or buy and sell with AJL. Totally your choice. If you can't find me or not looking hard enough, I am absolutely everywhere. And Justin, I appreciate you as always, man. You've really, really sewed into me since I've been on this journey after Petty Sports. And it was hard to be honest with myself, but really got a lot of props for you, man. And I can't wait to have you on the show. I can't wait to have you on the show, Brian, for coach perspective. Payton, not in a rude way. You're a lot better at this than you think. I know you love writing over broadcasting, but you're really good at this, bro. Like as soon as you hit the scene, like you got the energy, you got the cadence, and your whole acceptable, like that was golden. That was the best part of the show. I could talk all day, obviously, but yeah, I genuinely love you guys.
Yeah, some tears coming to my eyes here right now. Yeah, when you see the logo, it is indeed Adam, even though the logo has him with 20 pounds more of muscle. But it is indeed Adam, indeed. But
y'all see it. Hey, my buddy did good there.
But honestly, if you're watching right now or if you watch on repeat, please go follow all these 3 gentlemen. They are great. That's why you bring them on the show. And that's why I brought them on this particular show. I had to have them because I value and respect their opinions. But then after you watch and subscribe, let's come back here every Monday. Oh, shoot, I forgot my own show. Every Monday night on YouTube, just in 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. For our short form content, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are on Twitter. Not as often as these guys, especially Brian, great Twitter follow, but we are on these 3 forms for short form content. But Monday night, our main show on YouTube. So for Brian, for Adam, for Payton, I am indeed Justin of hashtag This Just Is signing out. Enjoy your games this weekend, and we all, but Adam told you, Cincinnati and San Francisco for the Super Bowl, but Yeah,
No,
I
hell
don't know
no.
how long-
That's Cincinnati and Philly. What are you talking about?
I said all but you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not listening. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I
don't
jump
know.
all over you for no reason.
If Philadelphia does get into the Super Bowl. So enjoy championship weekend. See you later.
I know that after tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars. No, 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 no. I
Come take a
know
look at my
that
dream
tonight,
world.
Tonight, you don't have to look up at the stars.
Chat, if you wanna come get it, then come for it. I'm so clean, my kick's nice, I'm Chuck Norris. Minute made the beat bounce, had to jump on it. Run for it, run, Gump Forrest Gump like hollow pumps, you gotta jump. No trouble, no double, I got a stun. You don't have to look up at the stars, make one wish, you're looking at the